In America, there is a huge divide between the rich and the poor. Oftentimes, the poorest neighborhoods are ghettos predominantly filled with minorities, specifically African Americans and Hispanics. The correlation between poverty and crime has been made multiple times in the media and in research and can clearly be seen, but it is too often focused on how coming from poverty leads one to crime, and too little on how coming out of a life of crime can lead to poverty. Recidivism is defined as the tendency for a convicted criminal to reoffend, or in other words, to return to jail. America has a very large recidivism problem, as a National Institute of Justice did a study in 1994 showing that after 1 year, over half of released prisoners were returned to jail at the end of the year, and after 5 years, 3/4 of those same prisoners were rearrested.
Oftentimes, people who are incarcerated have little skills and education, and this makes it hard to obtain employment and support themselves and their family.
I would say being involved with drugs or just happen to come up with money to support my family and stuff like that. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and commit a crime because I want to go to jail. It's always a reason behind it.
A lot of them come from poverty to begin with, and they go to jail, build up a criminal record, and it just adds more on, makes life more difficult to be part of society. And when people don't have, can't meet their own needs through employment and stuff like that, they're going to resort to things like crime, selling drugs, theft. So I think there's a big link between poverty and people going to jail.
We met up with the workforce development specialist from the DC Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. She taught us about how building a skill set and educating juveniles is crucial to their success outside of detention.
A lot of our young people end up homeless, especially after they get out of our program. They don't have a place to live. So I think poverty has a lot to do with it, and when I say that, I also mean in the educational sense that, if you don't have some kind of education, then you stay in that poverty situation, and it becomes a cycle over and over again. A lot of our young people, a lot of them have not graduated from high school. We work with ages 14 to 24. A lot of them have not graduated high school. A lot of them have never worked a job before. So I think to give them some kind of advantage.
And even if those previously incarcerated did have skills and an education, they often leave jail with absolutely nothing to help them get on their feet.
It all comes down to money. Like, people need some money, and prison doesn't pay anything. I remember I worked every day at the SUI shop, which means State Use Industries, and we were making benches and beds and stuff for hospitals and like the NBA and all. And they give you like $2 a day. So when you leave prison from doing 2-3 years, you got like maybe $70 in your pocket. Right. That's not nothing to help anyone get started,
Prisoners like Glenn Ford can walk out with little to build a life on.
Glenn Ford was given a $20 gift card the day he left Angola prison.
Gave me a card for $20 and said, wish you luck.
How long did that last you?
1 meal.
Yeah, I've had an opportunity to work at a homeless shelter in Washington, D.C. at a church, and a third of the people that would come in would be from the prison system and say, I was literally dropped off in Washington with $10 in my pocket. I now have a record. I don't even have my birth certificate, so I can't get a driver's license to get a job. It's just very...
Or to vote. Or
to vote. And so they would say point blank, you know what? I had 3 meals a day. And I just don't know what else to do. And my family's embarrassed by me, and I can't go back on the couch anymore. So now what? You tell me what to do. So it was a really horrible situation.
And if this wasn't discouraging enough, the hunt for a job is one of the hardest things that ex-cons have to do. Too often, their records hurt their chances of even being considered for most jobs.
I think when I came out of prison, I served 6 years in prison and earned a college degree while I was on the inside, which really doesn't exist the way it used to after Pell Grant eligibility was taken away in 1994. But I went to 50 different employers looking for a job, almost every single one turning me down almost immediately after they learned that I had a criminal record without allowing me to compete for the job.
We decided to go out into our community and investigate how likely our local workplaces are to hire ex-cons. Most employers we spoke to refused to be filmed by the fire department, NASA Federal Credit Union, and Kumon Tutoring Center told us that absolutely no felons could be employed due to the nature of their job. Luckily, one woman spoke with us and she emphasized the need for certain business qualities.
I'm just not going to hire anybody that doesn't have experience. That's really what it comes down to.
So experience in the work field, you mean?
Work, customer service, being able to pack and ship things. That's what we do here is pack and ship, printing services. So if you don't have experience in that, never mind your criminal record, it wouldn't, I wouldn't be able to hire you.
Okay, thank you.
Because whoever you work for might be liable, so they don't want to take risks with somebody who's already been arrested.
Right.
Like, why would you hire somebody with a lot of theft charges to handle cash register?
Right, because they have
things like that. I mean, there's a lot of it's pretty hard for people to reintegrate into society.
Of course, employers deserve the right to know the histories of those who they're employing. Because, they're the ones whose businesses have reputations and who need reliable workers to get the job done. But if no one is giving these ex-cons a chance to work or even giving them the skills that they need to get a chance to work, how can we expect them to start a new life, to get a new job, or to avoid homelessness and become an active member in society? And after being released, many ex-cons have to deal with figuring out how to pay for parole fees and probation fees and how to meet with their parole officers and things like that when they have no money and they have no resources. And even if they do have a job, then it might conflict with their schedule. And all these things, is just so many more hoops to jump through.
And in Pennsylvania, they charge a $60 fee just to enter the program. And if you don't have the money for all the fees they charge, as one Pennsylvania parolee explains, you can be forced to make a truly ridiculous choice.
You go to see your parole officer and you don't have money, they will hold you.
Job or no job. And if you don't pay, you come back to jail.
Yeah.
I know one thing. I found myself selling drugs to pay back Pennsylvania.
Oh my God! So in order to pay for the program, to keep him away from dealing drugs, he has to earn money drug dealing. At this point, the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections might as well change its motto to, "Y'all come back now, you hear?"
If a person has a warrant, okay, like with a warrant, and you're on probation, they'll lock you up and then they'll give you a no bond status. And a guy might have just not reported or might have missed a court date or something like that. And it's hard. It's hard for people to get on the phone and say, "Oh, I have no bond," and then they lose their job, they lose their car, they lose wherever they lived at. They get out 3-4 weeks later and they have no money, so what are they going to do? They're going to take the old lady's purse, they're going to break into a car, they're going to go into a store and take something out of there to try to sell it, They need to create more programs to help people out because everyone in jail is not bad. Just people have made bad decisions,
Yeah. Incarceration doesn't work. But people feel like they have to do something for people to feel safe. But I don't know. I think it's up to all of us. I think we all play a part. If you know someone that needs help them. Because we don't just help our young people that we work with, we also help young people in the community who are having a tough time finding a job. Some people just don't know how to look for employment or how to matriculate through the FAFSA or how they look for scholarships or stuff like that. So we help people, like I said, not only the young people that we work with that are put involved, but we do help people in the community as well.
There are some programs built to help lower the recidivism rates like cosmetology licensing programs, workforce development programs like the ones Ms. Powell is in, and life skills and financial education classes like the ones the recidivist told us about. These all involve eradicating the effects of poverty, like the lack of education and exposure to opportunity, drug addiction, and homelessness. We have to ensure that we give them what they need so that these things never shackle them down. We need to adjust our parole system to the needs of our prisons and do a better job bringing them back into the community. This obviously will require more efficient programs and money, but as a society, if we want this to change, we need to make it a priority. In the words of prisoner Professor Mark Howard, criminals are forgotten and abandoned in many ways. They've made wrong choices and did bad things and often deserve to be separated from society. but we shouldn't forget about their humanity and their potential.